work hard or hardly work. Ignoring the rules or tuning out your boss for just a second can turn a small mistake into a massive disaster at work. But when workers are lazy, they create moments where people just can't help but scream. You had one job. This grandson was tasked with the care of Granny. That meant holding on to the wheelchair, not letting loose like this guy. And there she goes. It's a good thing it was a Sunday, or else the traffic would have taken Grandma for a ride.
Talking mad nigga, that snitch. I ain't been no.
The good thing about a valet is that someone else drives your car. The bad thing about a valet is that someone else drives your car. And that was an Audi e-tron, by the way. A mailman's literal only job is to ensure the mail gets delivered safely. Well, things were delivered, but they certainly weren't safe. The guy manning the zip line was either a menace or didn't do his job carefully, because if there's one thing you always check with cases like these, it's the weight. It's literally the only requirement.
Don't let go on the platform. So walk off. Walk up. Oh, walk to the edge. You didn't say that. I thought you meant jump over.
And this is what happens when you ignore the height restrictions. It's a good thing the driver lived, because now he gets to see how stupid he was with this move. Those restrictions are there for a reason. When you embarrass yourself on national TV, maybe it's time to seek a more peaceful and less thrilling job, because if you're feet up in front of the public, you know they'll be walking over you all the time.
From manager Brand Sticker.
Yep, nothing like giving a few jolts to a woman who's clearly just trying to enjoy her morning coffee. It's a good thing she was okay. I'd have sued. The poor mover gave it his all trying to lift that cupboard. If only he had backup. The best part, he doesn't even notice the disaster for a solid few seconds. Honestly, this might be the one time a mom can say, "It's that darn phone's fault," and actually be right. Would you wait for a pro to move a tempered glass table, or wing it yourself? This guy went with option 2 and ended up with enough shards to make a glitter carpet. Good luck cleaning that mess. Even a Swiffer's throwing in the towel. Drive a tractor, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Well, this guy just found out tractors can snap like a Kit Kat. Fun? Not so much. Repair bills? Oh, absolutely. Poor guy. To be young and full of confidence, this mechanic proudly shows off his work, thinking the boss will be impressed. Spoiler alert, not quite the reaction he was hoping for. Good thing they're already at the workshop. This guy had one simple task: keep the garbage in the truck and away from the house. But apparently, the instructions manual was more of a suggestion. At least he stuck around to clean up the mess. Most drivers would have just taken off and left the trash behind. Think there's nothing worse than your car being towed? Think again. Oh, and they'll have to pay double for that one. This will get the war started. Yep, that's what happens when you're careless with the one thing you're supposed to be careful about. And here we've got one man who's clearly not cut out for the job. At least not until someone runs at him with a pair of scissors, am I right? I don't know whose job it was to clean up the pile of you-know-whats, but it seems like they literally didn't do that one job. And now we've got a reporter who's flying higher than a kite and doesn't even know what's going on. When you're a parent and your baby's crying, you literally have one job: stop the crying. It seems like little Timothy here knew his parents got done messed up. We don't even need to say much about this one, now do we? Looks like Kitty took a leaf from Tom and Jerry. There's a billboard guy out there dreading his boss's call. Well, you certainly had one job and you failed miserably. So there's that at least. When we said, blow him up, we meant the enemy, Jonathan, not us. It seems like little Johnny here isn't going to last long in the military as much as he'd wanted. Hey, honey, don't worry. I definitely installed the door latch correctly. Said not this guy. It's a good thing there weren't any burglars nosing around. This woman was literally given one task: film the proposal without a hitch. And what goes off other than a few hitches? The same woman tumbling like she's Humpty Dumpty's sister. It's a good thing a stranger decided to record the proposal too. When you try to fake an injury to get out of the game and the paramedics decide to help you out, or the paramedics are so genuinely dumb that they really shouldn't be in this field. Get it together, for darn sake.
May spider sa likod mo.
It's a good thing this cat's got a resilient owner, because it was starting to give Garfield a run for his money. Well, all's well that ends well. When you cheap out on a tow truck, you end up with something like this. Well, at least the video proves it was the tower's fault, so you won't have a hard time with the insurance. What's a model job other than flaunting a dress? Walking around in a pair of heels, only it looks like she didn't really get the memo. Poor girl, though. She's got to be embarrassed with all this.
Oh, she didn't want to do this. Oh, no. Give up. She gotta give up. Oh.
Women.
And here we've got a pair of Dumb and Dumber, because if one of you isn't smart enough to know how to wear a helmet, shouldn't the other one? But maybe that's just them. Here we've got our valiant heroes doing the one thing they do best: incompetency. I mean, come on. How else do you explain these cops letting go of a criminal who's practically in their hands? This guy drove over a sinkhole and thought, "'Tis but a scratch." So he called a tow truck, which did exactly the opposite of what it was supposed to. Well, there goes the insurance and a tow trucker's job. This goes beyond a bad day at work. This is, you literally had one job and you failed so bad it cost us millions. So here's your paycheck, and there's the door. This is what the Scarborough Centre Station looked like after heavy rains. Looks like the architect or the engineer really failed on this one, because it's becoming its own river. This video here proves two things. One, fear is just an illusion. If you feel secure enough, you'll be able to do anything. And two, the guy who was supposed to secure the harness is probably considering changing jobs. These guys didn't want to ruin their first car, so they asked a fuel pump's worker instead. Only things really didn't go to plan. Oof! And with a car like that, it's going to cost a lot. The next time you designate a family member to man the meat at the cookout, maybe ensure he's up to the job, or else you'll be lamenting over the loss of chicken like a lion lost his prey. Oh, to be a train driver and ignore all height restrictions and go through a different route. Well, that's one job and circumstances no one would want, especially when you practically sink an insurance company out of business. If you're going to scam people out of money, at least do it right. This guy had the golden opportunity to cash in a buttload of money, but he had to ruin it with his theatrics. Theater kids. When you're on, open the umbrella for the commander duty, but life has other plans. Well, this looks like something right out of a Monty Python sketch now, doesn't it? At least he got over it quickly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand.
Okay.
Talk about a bad lineup. These guys were literally supposed to ensure everyone stays straight, but went off the path themselves.
Rise for our national anthem.
Imagine being the person who only had to turn up the national anthem when it was time, but ended up doing this. When a task as simple as washing a car gets you worked up like this, maybe it's time to let the professionals handle it, because you're much better off in drier clothes. This guy had it all under control, until he didn't. One question though, who's more doomed here? Seaboard Marine or the Crane Company? Either way, someone's about to be very familiar with courtrooms.
Un accidente, se cayó la grúa.
Who's to blame here? The truck driver who probably skipped double-checking that cement mix, or the car driver who appeared out of nowhere? Either way, one thing's for sure, someone's spending the rest of the week chiseling out cement. Look at this innovative mixer truck driver, filling potholes for free.
This thing just splashed cement all over my brand new car.
The only problem? There aren't any potholes, just a line of furious car owners wondering how their day took such a messy turn. If you're hauling giant cement rings that could turn into rolling hazards, triple-checking the straps seems like a no-brainer. But not for this guy. His speedy getaway and lack of common sense just earned him a heap of repair bills and, most likely, a pink slip. Even the sharpest mechanics have their off days, and this mistake, it's got a price tag in the thousands. Makes you wonder, what on earth did they say to the Corvette owner? Imagine spending months building a bridge, only to have it come crashing down in seconds. All thanks to the genius who thought a flimsy crane could handle a giant bridge piece. What could possibly go wrong? This homeowner might have second-guessed letting a giant tree truck into their backyard, And after this stunt, they're definitely regretting it. Balancing that crane probably took hours. Fixing the house, a few $1,000 and a lot of headaches. Stacking dozens of heavy boxes on a scooter with a flimsy back? Bold move. Turning the motor on without realizing it? Well, that's the kind of stress you can't prepare for. Talk about an unexpected chase. This is what the architect had in mind, and this is what it turned out like. Yeah, even the workers are standing there scratching their heads because the contractor swore he knew what he was doing. But some mistakes you just can't undo. This clip is a masterclass in both how to and how not to. One forklift driver's moving with precision, taking his time and being careful not to damage anything. Meanwhile, in the back, we've got another driver giving that shelf a surprise headbutt. Oops, guess he didn't check his mirrors. You know how you always spill hot soup when you try to eat it over the bed? Yeah, this is the same thing, only the big bowl filled with molten metal. Don't worry though, all the workers were safe, but they did get to play a real-life version of The Floor is Lava! A big excavator hooked onto one giant crane dangling over a deep trench. What could possibly go wrong? Well, maybe the crane drops the excavator? The driver's lucky he wasn't in it when this happened, otherwise he'd be toast. One poor trucker almost went over the edge, and while he managed to climb out, his truck needed a little more help. Luckily, a crane can lift a truck. Well, sometimes. Yeah, now they'll need a much bigger crane. And here's another crane that tried to pick up a truck, only this time the truck was like, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me.
And his name is John C.
Yeah, that looks bad. Luckily, the driver made it out, but that was way too close. An expensive Chevy Impala, and an even more expensive mistake. This mechanic's oil change took a wild turn when the car literally went up in flames. Well, there goes the luxury car, and probably the mechanic's job too. I'm all for a little workplace frustration, but when your job involves heavy machinery, maybe take a deep breath before you hit the gas. This excavator operator got a little too impatient, thinking rushing through it would do the trick. Spoiler, it didn't. If he just slowed down, he might have kept both his job and the equipment in one piece. Boss, trust me, I've got this. I can totally handle the truck, said this guy probably. Well, it turns out he couldn't handle the truck, and instead of putting out the fire, he just watches as the cars go up in flames. Classic move. Sometimes it's not about skill, it's about memory. This crane operator had over 30 years of experience, but forgot to check if the crane could actually handle the job. A quick inspection could have saved him a lot of hassle. There's no excuse for this tow truck driver. Who in their right mind crosses a bridge that's way too narrow for the van they're hauling? This looks less like a mistake and more like a bad decision on purpose. Maybe it's not the workers, but the wine bottles that just can't seem to stay put on their shelves. This poor guy was already dealing with a few fallen bottles, but then his stressed-out coworker took things to a whole new level. Talk about adding insult to injury. You know those moments when you think everything's going smoothly. But then, surprise! The glass cutter had the right moves, cut the circle, outlined the edges, but a little tap on the table, and suddenly it's game over. Guess the glass wasn't as tough as he thought. Being an excavator driver isn't all fun and games. You've got to be careful where you swing that arm. But this guy hit something he definitely shouldn't have, and now smoke's pouring out like it's no big deal. Whatever kind of gas he just unleashed, I'm pretty sure it's not a friendly color. This is a great example of how you either go a hero or live long enough to become a villain. It seems like this plumber was channeling his inner demon because he hacked away at the pipes as if he was supposed to cause the leak. There's no way this car carrier driver didn't notice he was missing a few key details. He crashes into an overhead bridge, damages the cars, and then just keeps driving. No check to see if his luggage is still intact. Guess it's not a big deal until you realize the cars are falling off. The previous truck driver might have acted oblivious, but this guy knew exactly what he was doing. He should have stopped when he felt that resistance, but no, he had to drag the truck's underbelly along for the ride. Yeah, he's definitely not off the hook for this one. This truck's got a new look, split into 3 and wedged under a bridge. I can't quite figure out how it happened, but I'm betting the driver ignored a little detail, a bridge that clearly wasn't built for big rigs. Here's another close call where one driver's lapse in focus nearly turned into a disaster. The truck driver stepped out, leaving the vehicle on a ramp, but forgot one tiny thing. He didn't leave it in neutral. The guys hauling this massive cement pipe really should have brushed up on their physics because they definitely overestimated their strength. Turns out, even the toughest things can crumble under pressure. If you've ever dreamed of having a motion pool installed, maybe it's time to let that dream go. Or at least hire someone who knows how to work a crane. This guy nearly nailed the drop, but didn't quite grasp that moving a heavy load across backyards could send him tumbling.
You all right?
For the love of all things common sense, people, if your vehicle is clearly taller than the bridge you're about to hit, maybe, just maybe, hit the brakes and take a detour. This guy did the complete opposite, sped up, and, well, let's just say his truck didn't survive the encounter. Well, this one speaks volumes, doesn't it?
I no longer feel safe on an airplane.
We make fun of TSA not even letting you grab a bottle of water, and that's exactly what's going on here. But it seems like TSA needs to remember why it even exists in the first place. Yep, and this too, after the history we have with planes. Yikes! I'm not one to shame gender reveal parties, but if you're spending $70 on this and the company sends out the wrong color, let's hope you get a refund. In case you're wondering why you've never seen a horse carrying a stretcher like this before, yep, those paramedics definitely made things 1,000 times worse. It looks like someone missed some very important history updates. Yikes, selling stuff like this goes well beyond horrible expectations. Well, this is one way to start a conversation now, isn't it? It's not like you'll need these things, say, for escaping a fire or something, just stuck in the basement, like every Redditor living with their mom. When you tell your wife to hold the tiles so you don't get hurt, and she literally does everything but the one thing you ask. If I were him, I'd be taking this to couples counseling. This is one of those moments where you know exactly what's going to happen, and yet you wind up watching how long it lasts. Well, grab your bucket of popcorn because this is a thrill from start to finish. And here's the incredible moment: a Russian missile backfired. Literally, and right where the detonators were hiding. Well, if karma was real, it couldn't get any better than this. When poor hygiene, bad administration, and sheer dumb carpenters collide, you get something along the lines of this. Well, at least we know it doesn't work. Well done! You've now created your very own stencils for situations like this. It's going to pay big bucks! You know those eateries that make you wait a couple of hot minutes before you get your meal because they're focused on some dumb theatrics? Yep, this is one of them, but the end screams, you have one job! After a morning like this, it'd only be sensible to quit, especially when you cost the boss a couple of pints before you've even served them. Working the night shift is easy. All you have to do is stay awake and keep an eye on things. So this guy literally failed the one thing he was sent there to do. This is one of those you had one job moments that'll hang over your head for the rest of your career.
You got it. Fucking flip it over. It was right. It was right. Put it. Put the green side down. Yeah.
Something tells me the engineer who worked on this took those online Zoom classes. Something tells me this guy doesn't really have that much going on up there, you know? Or he's just tired. Opening a bottle in the middle of murky waters? Whatever could go wrong? Do pray tell. Nice. Imagine your booze guy messing up like this. It amazes me how many publishers will go on to reject good books and yet will still somehow let copies like this float around.
Today, start working on not touching your face because one main way viruses spread is when you touch your own mouth, nose, or eyes.
You know what? I'm not even going to bother with a comment with this one. It's all fun and games until you lose track of what you're doing and end up with a mouthful of hey, nay. Looks like this guy's the definition of look busy, do nothing, keep that up, and he'll be assistant manager. Somewhere out there is a farmer who's hoping he locked the latch right before the truck left. When you let enthusiasm overtake your focus, something like this is bound to happen. It's crazy how this car probably went through 1,000 inspections, and yet somehow someone still missed this. The crowd had one job: pass the ball to the people at the back, not back to Ronaldo. And to think the whole backbencher crowd is really disappointed right now. Here's a painter that probably said, not my job, except it literally was. Oh, I'd be madder than Red Foreman on a bad day.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, we're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
CNN had just one job that day: match the countdown to the launch.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Game
Of course, the crew ended up doing everything but that.
Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon.
This is right on cue with mildly infuriating.
I hear your heart to the beat of the drum.
Yeah, something tells me I'm not the only one who's disappointed. I'm pretty curious about the guy who installed this. It shows there's a brain cell out there somewhere, but somehow the synapses aren't firing like they're supposed to. You know what? Forget sleeping like a baby. I'd rather sleep like dads, like this one, who was supposed to put the baby to sleep.
Are you so
Well, that's a couple of $1,000s down the sea. At least they'll get organic waste.
Are you kidding me?
This is valid enough to cut out of the employer's paycheck, right?
The time starts again. Now, what confectionery company makes Revels? Cadbury? Stop the clock, that is wrong. Take your time. What confectionery company makes Revels?
Can't think of another. Mars, she said Cadbury.
Can't imagine what kind of husband he is.
Cadbury. She said Cadbury.
Now, who in their right mind did this, and who to blame? I just not buy the house altogether. The cameraman wasn't supposed to show this guy in the frame. Let's see where it goes.
All right, kids, we have more house to show. All right, you lead the way. Okay, if you come this way.
What's up, guys? Sorry. I apologize. I didn't want to get into the shot, so.
When your cat wants no part of whatever you're trying to do, even if it's the one job it's supposed to do. When you play with your food a bit too much, you end up missing the meal altogether. And that's why this turned into an automatic catch and release.
Scary. You can do it. Ready, set?
There you go, you're off. Yeah.
They're gonna catch her.
Don't worry, they'll catch her, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Except when the people in charge of the catching let themselves get distracted.
Oh no!
Is she okay?
Every smart locksmith in the world just collectively let out a sigh with this one. It's almost like they're trying to mess up their job. Imagine going to a major outlet and coming out wearing shoes that spell that. Yeah, stop guarding the goal net because of your emotions. Pretty sure dropping the only thing you're supposed to do won't affect the outcome in any way. The guy who was supposed to be installing this lock is probably scratching his head somewhere. What makes the perfect TikToker? A phone, of course. Just somebody tell this guy. When you're supposed to be manning the one thing that's supposed to keep you afloat, but you're too busy smooching with a can instead. When you let the word micro enter management, this is something that happens. Talk about literally doing anything but your job. Ooh, the technician in charge of blaring those alarms is definitely going to regret this when he comes back to the station. No, Gary, you were supposed to put out that fire, not let the water put you out instead.